Alrighty, I think we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday night's segment on thyroid healthy balance. I'm absolutely thrilled and honored to have the beautiful Lynsey on tonight, who's an integrative practitioner who specializes in helping women through that transitional phase of perimenopause, premenopause, menopausal transition, and all other elements that relate to that area and stage of life, which is all about lifestyle and diet. And clearly, as you will know, I specialize in thyroid, which is also to do with the endocrine system. And we've got the beautiful Shell here as well. I wanted Shell to pop on in and say hello. Shell's here to support this live training, as she always does very beautifully. Now, Lynsey, I've known Lynsey for quite some time, and Lynsey and I have a very common denominator thread, and that is that we both have a very similar philosophy that all health begins in repairing those foundational layers, those foundational pieces, those elements that are really at the root cause of what's triggered your specific issue in the first place, right? And when through our discussions, this is what we do. Like, she does her thing, I do my thing. However, there's a very distinct common thread. And that is, looking at diet first, looking at the fundamentals with exercise, looking at sleep, all these things that are creating chaos in our body if we're not actually doing those basic foundations. And then on a biological level, we've got the base foundations of our cellular health. And that's why I brought Lynsey on in here tonight, because she has been working in this field of helping women repair the cell membranes for quite some time now. And, I'll be honest with you, I've known for quite a while that at the omega-3s, like, I've just been completely disillusioned with that whole area until very recently, when I've began to use this balance oil myself. And I don't know whether you can notice, probably not. but, but anyway, I'm really feeling I can tell my cells are kind of plumping up from the inside. And Lynsey has been using the balance oil for how long now?
Since last year, so October.
Since October last year.
Yeah.
So she has had more clinical experience in terms of really noticing the fundamental changes with her clients. And, through our discussions, I'm just super excited. And now my clients are starting to take the balance oil, most of them. Some of them haven't quite started yet, but they're getting there. And this is a foundational piece. So this is why we wanted to bring this special live training here tonight. So I just would love to welcome Lynsey Vinen to my live training. And did you want to say a few words, Lynsey, before I keep rattling on?
Oh, Megan, thank you. And yeah, we've said for a while about working together, running retreat, doing this, doing that. Remember last year on the retreat, we're like, we have to, something's got to come together. Anyway, I know when we were on the retreat that you wanted to change the world. And I
Yeah,
think,
that's what I said. I said I need
yeah,
to change. I think Lynsey said, "What's your goal?" And I said, "It's to change the health terrain of the world."
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I it really stuck with me, that. And when I found or was approached by another naturopath, in regards to this new omega-3 fatty acid balance oil, I really wanted to speak to you about it and help you understand why it was different and why so many practitioners were moving across to to this oil and the test. And yeah, like you said, we have to go to the foundations. We have to go to the cell. We have to start educating people as to, what is going on inside when we are made up of trillions and trillions of these little cells that are running our bodies.
Absolutely. You know, like we've got what 37 trillion cells. Anyway, that's what I looked
37
up.
trillion. Yeah. Sometimes I change it. Might be 38, maybe 40.
37 or so trillion
Yeah.
cells in the body,
A
and
lot of
every
trillions.
single approximately, and every single cell is wrapped up in a phospholipid membrane. So within that phospholipid membrane, that allows our cells to draw in nutrients, to efflux or get rid of toxins, cellular metabolites. You know, whenever the mechanics of the cell has done the thing, there's a waste product. You know, it's like everything. There's a little bit of, there's an in, there's an out. There's got to be an out where there's an in. Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to go on too much about it, but you know, I'm pretty sure everyone understands the plethora of environmental toxins that we are faced with in this day and age through our water supply, through our air, on our food, you know, like it's in the soils. And, you know, without painting too much of a picture of doom and gloom, you know, like what can we do about it? Well, of course, we eat organic as much as possible, you know, or consciously grown food as close to Mother Earth as possible. You know, we eat whole foods. We want to make sure that those macros and micros are balanced. We want to make sure we're getting the essential fatty acids. And then we read in the papers about the state of affairs of the Tasmanian fish farms, which is absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
But, you know, this has been going on. This is actually not new to me. Like salmon has been the new chicken for
Yeah.
about a decade. You know,
Yeah.
like they feed the salmon grain. So how on earth are they going to have really great amounts of omega-3 when they're feeding the fish grain? You
Yeah.
know, all the poor fish are getting type 2 diabetes, just like us,
Yeah. Yeah.
probably, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what do we do? Because like years ago, as a brand new practitioner, like over 10 years ago, here's my backstory. I used to get everyone onto fish oil because I understand the importance of the omega-3, the role that it has in the cell membrane to lower inflammation, to build that structural integral membrane so that the cell can actually do the job right,
Yeah.
so that the cellular mechanics can work efficiently and effectively to draw in the nutrients, efflux the toxins, and lower all of that inflammation in the body.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I found that these high grade practitioner only products, and I'm not going to name names, but you know, quite expensive products,
Mhm.
my clients couldn't do it. You know, 6 to 8 capsules a day to get your
Mhm.
4 grams of omega-3, and I couldn't do it. Anyway, over time, like I'd put some people on it, other people not. We do it for a while, then it's unsustainable.
Yeah.
My whole
Exactly the
food,
same. I,
exactly, Lindsay's got the
yeah,
same
and people,
story.
and then the problem of the people burping up the rancid oil because it's obviously already oxidized.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So we've got this oil because in case anyone doesn't know, omega-3 has a double bond, you know, every 3 little dashes. That's why it's omega-3. And the double bond, you know, it's basically it's not volatile, but it's unstable. It's an unstable fat. That's why you don't cook with omega-3. That's why you've got to be careful with storage with omega-3. So when you think about it, if you've got omega-3 going through all the acidic and alkaline and all the mechanics of your digestive system, and then once it gets to where it needs to go, does it actually really get there and is it stable?
Mm. And most
Okay.
of the time, no, it
Well,
doesn't.
what we're finding is that it's not stable, and that is evident through this omega-3 test,
Mhm.
right? So the omega-3 test will show you what your ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 is,
Mhm.
right? Now, our predecessors, the Inuits of the world,
Yep.
and you know, all the long time ago, they used to get their omega-3s. They get them through plants, they get it through game, they get it through beautiful, non-toxic, you know, non-industrialized fish,
Fish.
okay?
Wild caught, line caught fatty fish.
Or just, you know, they jump in and grab one,
Grab
spear,
one. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and
Yep.
then fast forward to today, and we've got massive amounts of microplastics in the oceans. They are unclean. We've got heavy metals.
Yeah.
And then we've got the farm, so that's wild caught. Then the farmed state of, it's just diabolical with what's happening
Yep.
with the farmed fish. So, then you think, okay, I'll have sockeye from Norway or, up in the Canadian Rockies. You do your best, right? You do your best. But are we still getting the omega-3 that is required?
And when you
No.
look at like dosage and how much we need, you need to be eating a pile of fish a day, like literally a plateful. Like who does that?
And also to deal with the plethora of environmental
And
toxins
toxins, yeah.
and what's actually impacting our body, which is why we've got the
Mm.
epidemic of all these lifestyle diseases,
Mhm.
high blood pressure, insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, and for your clients, like menopause is meant to be a time of celebration.
Mhm.
We're entering the wisdom years.
Mhm.
We're going to be the way showers of the young women coming through,
Mhm.
but a lot of women anyway, you can
They're
speak to that.
yeah, they're down on their knees. They're in a world of pain and inflammation, and yeah, and it's not pretty. And they're really struggling. But I think, with in time and education, we can get people well, but it does take time. It's not like we can just do it overnight. There's dietary changes, there's education around dietary changes, there's education around what we've just talked about there, mycotoxins, just toxins in the foods that just in the supermarkets as well. um, so there's some big lifestyle changes that people have to make if they want to continue on down their healthy route, or getting well and healing. And again, you don't know what you don't know. And when I tested myself, I was unbalanced and I was gutted that I was unbalanced. I was like, how can I be? How can that be? I was taking again a fish oil for 15 years, practitioner grade,
Right, a high grade. I know the one that you're
high
taking.
grade,
Yeah.
and I was still imbalance. And I know, as a family, we don't eat a lot of meat because my husband's allergic to fish. A lot of meat, a lot of fish, because my husband's allergic to it. So whenever I went out, I'd always have fish, but I'd try and have, tinned mackerel and things like that during the lunch times. I would always have my flax. I would always have my chia, and I would always eat walnuts. And I was still not converting that. So, for my clients, it is a big piece around that education
Mm.
on diet, movement, sleep, regulating that. It's dysregulation, right? Our bodies are dysregulated and we have to get them regulated, and start helping them understand at a cellular level what is going on with those cells, because that right now is what's causing your symptoms that you're experiencing.
Absolutely, because you could be doing, and I just want to see, like you could be doing, just gonna see, like drop in, let me know that you're here, guys.
Yeah. Hi,
I've been,
everybody.
I've been totally ignoring the chat. Sorry. Let me know if this rings true for you. I'd love to engage with the audience here. Um, if you feel that you're doing all of the right things, you're eating your vegetables, you're having all your leafy greens, you're having your macros and you're doing your exercise and you feel like you're doing all of the right things. However, you're still unwell. You still have the fatigue. You might have pain in your body. It might even be like arthritic type joint pain, or it might be a situation where it doesn't matter what you do, you're unable to drop the weight, you're unable to lose weight, and you're feeling like a lot of my clients say to me that they're just feeling inflamed in their body, like they're feeling inflamed, even though you're doing all of the things. I'd just love to know. Yep, Leanne agrees. Camilla, I wonder if there is a way to know about the quality of the salmon we eat. Great question. You know what? I mean, look. One of my missions, Camilla, and I had this mission 2 years ago. I haven't done it. Go figure. I'll tell you what my mission was. It was to go on a road trip. and go and actually visit all of the small businesses. I was going to go to all the fish farms. I was going to go and basically interview all of the farmers and find out exactly what's going on. And I was going to make a documentary about it. Anyway, I wonder why I haven't done that. Like
Let's do it.
it's not a big task, is it? Actually, maybe we should do it, Linz. Maybe we should do it. So
Yeah.
someone's got to do it. Someone has got to bust this open
Yeah.
because, I mean, I'm the same as you ladies. Like I go to the supermarket, or I don't actually these days. I buy from Divvy Box, which is a great local initiative, and I do as the best I can to get the best quality food
Mm.
into my pantry so that I can eat the best quality. And yet I did my omega-3 test the other day, and the results are pending, by the way. I haven't got them back. However, I just know that they're going to be out. Look, if my colleague Lindsay's are out, mine's going to be out, and ours are probably, I don't know, that's presuming they may be better than the average Joe Blow. I don't know, maybe, maybe not. Anyway, I'm just really, really curious to find out what it is because your omega-3 ratio has come right down, hasn't it, Linz?
Yeah. So mine was 13 to 1.
Yep.
And I had no protection value whatsoever. My actual omega index, my omega-3 index was about 3.4, and we want that about 8%. So I
Yep.
was way out. And I think the big thing here is to, explain to people that our bodies don't make omega-3 and omega-6. So we have to get it from somewhere. We have to get it from food, or we have to
Yes.
get it from, our oil. And, this is just so important. And I think, I speak to people and they don't quite get it. They don't understand it. And that's okay because, we've been around this, biology and chemistry and all of the things for a long time. And that's what we're taught. But I think now we have to impart that knowledge and have to explain to people and help people to understand, that the body doesn't make this. It is an essential nutrient that you have to get from food.
Yep.
And most of us aren't getting it. And our omega 6 to 3 ratios are just, if you've got a set of scales and we want them to be balanced at a 3 to 1, we're like this. And I think, when I look at, I've tested maybe over 100 people since last year, since October.
Yep.
And I've had one person who was not fully balanced, but came back balanced as in the green, because it's like a traffic light system, red, yellow, green. And
So you
yeah.
had
And
1 out of 100.
100. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we have got a massive problem on our hands. People are sick, and inflammation blunts the cell membrane, the hormone receptors around the edge, and that's affecting estrogen, it's affecting thyroid, it's affecting, all of those things that we both deal with on a day-to-day
Yeah.
basis. So we have to go to this, cellular healing. And people,
Absolutely.
we've got to fix the cell, otherwise we're not going to be well.
Absolutely. Because the cell really needs to be like a grape,
Yeah.
plump, plump,
Fluid. Fluid.
really nice and tight, not inflamed, not kind of bumpy around the edges, not rusty, so that we can absorb everything really well. Because once it goes through the gut wall and once it goes up and, it goes through the portal vein to the liver and goes to where it needs to go, all these nutrients, these beautiful nutrients, once they get that far, then they need to get into the cell to
Yeah.
make your energy, your ATP,
Mm.
which actually helps you thrive. It helps you get up, it helps you go. It just helps all systems go. So
Mm.
if you've got a barrier there, well then, it doesn't matter what you do to that point. Nothing's going to be as efficient and as effective until you have a really good cell membrane. So
Yeah.
I've just got a question here. So Erin, great question, Erin. What changes have you noticed physically and mentally, Lynsey, with your clients that you've had on this oil?
Yeah.
Uh,
So it's varied depending on obviously the individual and their inflammation markers and where they're at. So that's why, you know, we have to test them to see how far out of balance they really are. So
Yeah.
the majority, if I go, you know, and I think back to, you know, the majority of them who have tested, the things that we are seeing change are mood, less irritability, less fit, you know, less of that feeling low, you know, when you've got that sort of real and you don't really know why you feel like you do.
Yeah.
And we know we need DHA in the brain, right? And the brain's a piece of fat. So it needs that DHA. So as soon as they've got that going into the brain, they're going to feel better, right? So that's definitely, you know, big changes because a lot of my clients are struggling with how they feel mentally on a
Yeah.
day-to-day basis. You know, they feel pretty low. They haven't really got much get up and go. So that's good. Then we have things like
Body aches and pains you were
body
mentioning.
aches and pains start to disappear. Yeah. Not completely in the 120. I'm noticing that when we retest again, say like down the line when they're on their second 120 days,
Yeah.
that's when we start to notice the joint pain completely sort of disappearing. But they're definitely out of pain. I had a client last week who phoned me. She'd been on the oil for 3 weeks and she said, I'm off my meds, Lynsey. And I was like, what do you mean you're off your meds? She goes, I'm not taking Panadol osteo for my pain. And I was like, oh, wow, that's awesome. So, you know, things like that, which are huge, right, on the gut wall. You
Pain
have
is huge.
yeah, so that was amazing.
Mm.
And then the you know, weight loss, people are starting to notice that they're dropping a few kilos, and the weight's starting to come off. Skin, hair, nails, massive. Like that's just a, you know, people that are just like, my hair's growing back.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant because, you
That's
know,
what I've noticed. I've just been on the oil for 6 months. Sorry, 6 weeks, not 6 months. 6 weeks.
yes,
And the
the
first
skin,
thing I'm noticing is my skin. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm noticing my skin. It's normally dry at this time of year, and it's really so. That's my first, the
yeah.
first thing. Yeah. So
So,
I'm
and for
excited about
me, I
that.
think, you know, recovery from exercise, like, you know, I do hit the gym and train and lift weights. And I was really struggling with my recovery. And now I'm just like, oh, wow, okay, I'm waking up feeling pretty good. A little bit achy, but nowhere near as bad as I was in terms of that recovery. And my brain, like, I feel so much better, like switched on, not all dodgery. Or sometimes I do, but you know, I'd be like forgetting my pins and all sorts of things. And that's all good
Yeah.
now. I'm just like, hey, I'm back.
Yeah. That's why I got my mum onto it. You know,
Yeah.
she's in her mid 80s and or early 80s, and you know, bless her, I'm just noticing that she's quite forgetful with words.
Mm.
And I just thought, you know what? Yes, I spoke to her about this oil. She said, yep. I didn't tell her it's because of forgetting the words, you know. I said, you know,
Oh,
it's for all systems go. It's going to be really great for your longevity and your
yeah.
healthy aging. Yeah, so I've got my whole family onto it now as well.
I just
Yeah.
remembered the other thing that's a big one as well is the cravings. So, you know, people going through the sweet and the savory and just having those, you know, munchies, wanting to just eat rubbish.
Yeah.
I find that that is really helping with, well, the oil is definitely helping with that. So they're not getting those insulin spikes. Um,
That makes absolute sense
yeah,
because if you're actually feeding the cells what they need, and if it's drawing across so that the cellular mechanics can actually do the job that it needs to do,
yeah,
well, then your body's not going to go that path of least resistance, craving sugar for that quick hit
and hit.
or any other like upper.
Yeah,
Because it's actually getting the goods. It's
yeah.
getting the goods in
And
that.
satiety as well, like they're saying they're not as hungry, like they're finding that they're not wanting to go and they're not eating as much, which
Yeah,
is, you know, great as well because they're not snacking in between meals. So
brilliant.
they're finding they have their dinner and that's it, they're good. And
I'm
so,
just looking at a couple of questions here from Jennifer.
yep,
Here's the question. Everyone has different body chemistry.
yep.
How do we know if the blood test range is correct for everyone? I feel that I feel like I can answer that. Or did you want to answer that, Lynsey? You've been working with the test for longer than what I have.
Do you want to
I'll
put your opinion
start.
on it, and then
Okay,
I
I'll
can,
start.
yeah.
Yeah, so basically the test, it's not a blood draw, Jennifer. It's a skin prick test where you deliver 2 drops of blood. And if you can imagine how many cells you've got in each drop of blood. So what they're doing is through their, so basically the technology is over in Norway. And
Surprising.
within that technology, they basically assess the amount of omega-3 that's evident within the cell membrane.
It's in the plasma. It's in the serum, sorry, not the plasma. Whereas a blood draw would be plasma, which is
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
And that's why when doctors do it, or if they do it, it's not as accurate as a serum test
yes,
like we're doing. Yeah.
yes. So it's in the serum,
Yeah.
not in the plasma,
Not in the
which are
plasma.
two components of the blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and with body chemistry, yeah, I mean there is different pH in different areas of the body. We're actually looking at the actual makeup of the phospholipid membrane that's within the serum. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
It's the red blood cell.
Yeah, which is why the retest follows the cell cycle. So, for example, for any of my clients, if we're trying to replenish iron, it takes 120 days. For omega-3, when we're wanting to look at the integrity of the cell membrane following that cell cycle, it takes 120 days.
Yeah.
So that's this red cell cycle,
Yeah.
which is why the recommended retest is at the end of 4 months.
Yeah. And we're using Vitas, who are a world-renowned laboratory in Norway. They do all the blood spot testing for lot of the big universities. So yeah,
Yeah, so the
very
blood, yeah, so just for logistics, it's sent to like the main department here in Australia and then it's shipped over to Norway. It takes about 3 weeks, is that right?
yeah, three yeah, yeah.
About 3 weeks to get your results back.
Yep.
What I also love about this particular test is it's anonymous. You
Mm,
actually have a serial number. There's no names.
yeah.
You have it, you
No
literally,
identification at all.
yeah, no identification. You have a serial number, and you keep the serial number, and you get notified when the results are in, and you look up your serial number. Is that right? You get notified?
Yeah.
Yeah, you look up your serial
As long as
number.
people register, people forget to register, so then they'll go, I haven't had my results. I had a lady this afternoon. She's like, I haven't, it's been a month, Lynsey. And I was just like, oh, lordy, lordy. So they go to the test.com and they can put their number in and find it if they haven't heard back. But yeah, you just register your mobile number or your email and then they'll send you the results, which is great because it means that we're empowering you as a client to take
Oh,
control of your health because you receive your results and then you call us and say, hey, my results are in. It's terrible or it's really good.
then we can help you
That's right.
get back on track.
Yeah.
Okay, so Camilla's asked a question. I wonder if you have a recommendation of where to get a good and reliable pH test. Which area of the body are you talking about, Camilla? Because you can do pH in urine, you could do it in, like I know that there's a pH reading whenever I have someone do a gut function test. Which area of the body are you talking about? The anion gap, which is like when you get your full blood count with your local GP, it on that front page there's an anion gap. Anything really above 10 or 12 is considered that you're quite acidic. So your tissues would be quite acidic. Typically, when I see that someone has type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes or insulin resistance or any level of metabolic syndrome, I find that the anion gap tends to be around 15, 16, sometimes 18, which is quite high. So I would expect that person, should they do the omega-3 test, to have a really poor ratio
Yeah.
because it kind of correlates. It
Yeah.
all
They would
correlates.
be
Yeah.
very
This
high.
is when you're getting your body evidence and you're getting all, your ducks in a row to find out what's going on in your body. I find that there's just like, oh, well, that makes sense because this is that, and that makes sense because of something else, and then it all marries in and correlates with your signs and symptoms.
Yeah.
Mm. Sharon has asked a question. I would be interested to know if any of Lynsey's clients have scalp psoriasis and whether they have had improvement since being on the oil.
I haven't had anyone with scalp psoriasis, but I've had quite a lot of my clients with skin issues, and most of it has cleared up. Like, yeah, they're not even talking about it anymore. So there's we had a lady, which you'll be able to share this, Megan, with the ladies. We had a dermatologist talk last week. She's actually from the UK, and she's using the balance test and the balance oil in her clinic. And yeah, getting like the results were incredible that she showed. And I think in the she actually did a slideshow showing, people with psoriasis and eczemas and sort of hormone type sort of acne and things like that, which cleared up really, really well with the balance oil, and people understanding that they're inflamed. And
Yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense. I would see no reason why that it wouldn't help, because with omega-3 going into the cell membrane, it doesn't just go, well, I'm going to go over to this little compartment today. Oh, I'm going to ignore that one over there. It kind of it permeates the whole body. So you're
blood,
literally
yeah,
oiling up every cell, which is why it takes time.
yeah.
So this is why it takes 120 days to see some movement.
Mm.
And then, you go for 6 months, which is, it's typically a 6-month program to be on this omega-3, because that's essentially, pardon the pun, how long it takes for you to find and feel and see some improvement. And then typically you'll just stay on the oil because of all of the reasons that we mentioned before. Um, and yeah, that's how we change the health terrain of the world, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Like they are the ingredient that becomes your anti-inflammatory immune system.
Absolutely. Yeah,
It's
because if you're going to modulate the immune system, we need to lower the systemic inflammation.
yeah.
Once we lower the systemic inflammation, then the immune system has a chance to just correct itself.
And this is where it's so powerful for all autoimmune disease, right?
Absolutely.
Which is exactly what you're dealing with.
Well,
And
this is
and a
why I'm
lot of my
excited.
clients, when we test them, we've got the crossover, right, with thyroid. Like it's huge. Um,
Yes.
when we have those changes in hormones as well. And if the cell is not intact, then we just can't get stuff, just not being able to get in there. So again, there's that breakdown. Um, and I believe when people are talking about perimenopause now, there's so much out there that this is where we have to start. Like for every woman, we need to, go back to basics. We need to go back to foundations. And I say to a lot of my clients, when they come in, they're in a bag full of supplements. And I'm just like, that is like building your house from your roof down, like just chucking stuff in and hoping that it might work. Like it just doesn't work like that. Um,
Mm.
and most of that stuff you won't even be getting into the cell, right? So there's because of the hard and rigid outer layer that omega-6 causes around the cell, when you haven't got enough omega-3,
Yeah,
we're just not getting what we need, even from our food, when our cell's not intact. So yeah. And then
absolutely.
you've got gene expression and epigenetics on top of that as well, right? Which is just a whole another layer of
Yeah,
change.
like in methylations and, your
Yes.
body's, ability to detox and,
Yep.
go through all those compartments because, like genes, we've got our genetic pool, like genes load the gun. It's the environment that pulls the trigger.
That's
So if
right.
we're actually calming down the local environment by having high integrity of your cell membranes and lowering that systemic inflammation, and
Yep.
also, it's not just about the omegas. We're doing all of the things, you've got the diet, that's your dietary blueprint, your lifestyle, you're working on all other elements as well. Well, then you're actually just going to not just be, like a foot in front of you know, your old self, you're going to be leaps and bounds
Oh,
in front of your
absolutely.
old self because
Yeah.
the cellular mechanics are intact. The cellular mechanics are going to be able to function well.
Mm.
So, and I'm going to get into this in a minute because not all oils are the same. And there's a question here, and I'm going to go to it
Okay.
in a moment. But before I go to that, I just want to explain that, you know, Lynsey and I here, we're talking about a specific product, okay, which actually has their own functional testing kit, which is world class,
Mm.
okay? So we're not talking about that you just go out and buy your omegas. I mean, look, I've been in the health and wellness industry for 20 years. So has Lynsey.
Fine.
I've been a practitioner, like specialising in thyroid wellness for about 4 years and a naturopath for over 10 years. And, you know, the essential fatty acids in practitioner grade supplements, which are very expensive, I have to say, when you look at compare them to other supplements, they're just not doing the job, which is why I became disillusioned. I used to take omegas, I took myself off them, then I started to have food first, then I did a hair tissue mineral analysis, my mercury popped up, all of the thing. Nordic cod liver, yeah, I'll get to that in a moment, Tanya. So here we go. I'm just going to go through, there's quite a few questions going in. Let me go back to this one. What are your thoughts on black seed oil? So here's the thing, you know, we can be taking all the different types of oils. With seed oils specifically, and any type of plant oil, it actually has to undergo an extra step to convert into an omega-3. So
Mm.
it's really difficult for the body with everything that's going on to actually undergo that step. And here's the
It's
thing, you
quite
know,
a low percentage as well.
it is a low percentage. So,
Yeah.
you know, to really get the amount of omega-3 that our cell membranes require for optimal function
Mm.
is quite high, which
Mm.
is why taking a teaspoon, which equates to a whole plate of beautiful anchovies and sardines, is definitely a better way
Yeah.
than, you know, having a plate of fish and then you're possibly getting in the microplastics and heavy metals along with it. And, you know, to try and get your omegas through seed oils, you know, dare I say, you'd be potentially setting yourself up with inflammation because seed oils, just like what I said with the double bond situation, they're not getting to where they need to go intact. Okay, they're not getting to where they need to go intact. And this leads me to the point about the balance oil. It actually has a innovation which is very unique to this particular company, and that is that they use a specific polyphenol from pre-harvested olives to work as an antioxidant to actually keep the omega-3s in the fish oil fresh.
Mm.
All right. Now, that is the actual game changer of this omega-3 compared to other omega-3s.
Plus the
Right. So
D3
that's what yeah, it has D3 as well, just a little bit
a bit.
of D3. But, you know, we've got the polyphenols in there. So, you know, of course, you might be eating your polyphenols or your beautiful red berries and, you know, lots of bright colors. And, you know, you might be getting a little dash of red wine that's giving you some polyphenols. Like we get polyphenols from everywhere. However,
Yeah.
this is a polyphenol that's actually infused in with the oil matrix so that you're actually getting it with the therapeutic grade omega-3 into the cell membrane. So I hope that makes sense. Nordic, Tanya has asked thoughts on Nordic cod liver oil. Again, just like what I was saying before, you know, it's not just about the oil per se, it's about the combination within that oil, which actually gets
Tested that one, and people come in and they're not balanced.
That's right. So this is why at the very beginning of this particular program, you do the test. You do the test, and then you can see whether what you've been doing thus far has been working or not.
Mhm.
And as Lynsey mentioned, and I think they did a study in the US, they did a population study and they did so many tests over a vast amount of people, and they found that 99% of the population was completely out of balance, which
Mm.
is really no surprise. Australia would be no different. You
No.
know, we have the Western style diet that's causing inflammation. Why do you think we've got this epidemic in the world of chronic diseases? You know, like if you look at the bell curve, well, there's no bell curve, sorry, the graph, however the graph goes, you
Yeah.
know, it just keeps going up since the 1950s.
And
You
we've
know,
got more healthcare, we've got more doctors, we've got more gyms, we've got more of everything, yet people are getting sicker.
yeah,
Like,
the cells are
oh,
toxic.
yeah.
Leanne says, I'm so excited to begin mine today. So Leanne's part of my team. So
Oh, cool.
Leanne's on it. She's got her delivery, I think, yesterday. Yeah, so thoughts on Nordic. Yeah, I've mentioned that. Yeah, feel free to ask any further questions on that. You know, like if the Nordic cod liver oil, if you were taking that forever and a day, Tanya, I would recommend that you do the test to see if it's working, right?
Yeah.
That would be the best way because like every single body is different. There's
Yep.
no one size fits all. We're all very different. All we are saying is that what we've seen, what's coming up through the studies, what I've done with the research with practitioners that have been using this, what I've seen is that people are coming up very imbalanced and unbalanced. And that's what made me think, oh, I better get tested. And I'm thinking, oh, what are the results going to be? But, you know, I don't care. I'm going to publicize it. You know, I'm human. You know,
I
I
did.
don't,
I was just like, I'm gonna take this on. I'm just like, yeah, I thought I was doing the right thing, and I had silent inflammation in my body. So
cost.
I was actually feeling okay.
I'm going to go through the costs because I saw this before and then I'll miss the question. Jennifer's asking the cost.
Okay.
Okay, so for the 6 month. Okay, Lynsey just told me anyway, the company has put out a special just today. Anyway, but I'm just going to tell you what the cost is. For the 6 months program, which basically gives you 6 months of oil and 2 testing kits to do it beginning, and then at the end of month 4, and then you get 9 bottles of oil because it's dosed based on body weight. So 0.15 mils per kilogram of body weight. So I take about 7.5 mils.
Yeah.
Someone else might take 10 mils, someone 11 mils. So they give you 9 bottles of oil to make sure you got enough.
Yeah.
And that is $748. Okay. So that is paid to the company. They send you out that kit. That's up front. There's also a subscription cost where you could pay normally $348 if my memory serves me correctly.
Yeah.
I think it does because I had my omega today. Kidding. 348 and then a monthly subscription of 67.
Yeah.
However, Lynsey just told me that the company is now offering what, 295?
Yeah, 295
$295.
until they sell those packs out for basically 2 test kits and your first 2 bottles of oil and then your subscription for the rest of the time. So basically you're saving yourself like $500.
Yeah. So $295,
Yep.
which in the first delivery, Jennifer, they will send you 2 bottles of oil for the first 2 months and the 2 testing kits so you've got that all set up. You obviously do the test. It's really easy. It takes like not even 5 minutes. You stay on the oil after month, and then every second month they send you another 2 oils.
Yep.
But your subscription cost, whatever that is, whatever it works out to be, I think it's 67 a month. That'll just automatically come out every month. You can't break the subscription. It is 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay, so once you subscribe, you cannot just decide after month 4 that you don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So you're kind of locked in, right? And there's a very good reason for that because it's very well known that the benefits you're going to receive are after like 4+ months of being on the oil. Okay,
Yeah.
so like 4 months, 6 months, depending on how inflamed you are. But if you're getting benefit from 4 months, you'll get even more benefit month 5 and then month 6. Okay, so they want you to give it a good go. What do the bottles look like? How many mils? Let me
300 mils.
Hang on a minute. Okay,
300.
that's the size of the bottle. It's pretty big bottle, 300 mils.
Yeah.
And
And then we also have vegan oil. we have one which is called Aqua X, which is for anyone who has fatty liver disease or any issues with breaking down fats, or people who don't have gallbladders. And then we also have the premium oil, which has 30% higher polyphenols in it. So say if I had someone who was like really, really struggling and really out of sorts, we could put them on that high dose, or not high dose, the normal dose, but with the high polyphenols in it, giving them, the extra antioxidants. And then the other oils come in a lemon flavor. Like it's just like taking an olive oil shot with lemon. Like it is beautiful oil.
It's actually really good. Like, oh,
Absolutely beautiful. I've never tasted anything like it in my life. Like I've tasted fish oil and it used to make me want to vomit. Um, it's terrible. I remember when I was a nurse trying to give it to people, and people were like, "That's disgusting stuff."
it's got a really nice fresh feel in the mouth.
Yeah,
Look, if my husband will take it seriously,
same.
anyone will
Takes
take it. Yeah, he's like, I say, have you had your oil today?
And it comes in capsules as well. So my hubby travels, so he takes his capsules with him. Yeah, which are really handy. And then
Yes.
again, you still work out your dosage based on your weight with your capsules as well.
Yeah.
It's the only formulation in the world that is dosed by weight, which is crazy, right? Because 100-kilo man and 60-kilo woman, like we've got different needs, right?
Absolutely. I
So
really love that. I
love
love
that. Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like my dad, who is, in his early 80s, he's like, he comes up to me the other day and he goes, I had my oil today. It's almost like he sounds like he's oiling up an old machine, which he probably is. It's
That's
really
so
quite
good though.
I know, yeah. So, I'm really happy about this. I feel that it's the game changer that I've been looking for. For many of you who have been looking at my live trainings for some time, I've always said there's no quick fix. There's no the long way is sorry, the short way is actually the long way. And I
Yeah.
still truly believe this. However, if you can get a huge lift, a huge helping hand by a product that can actually work at that base foundational health level, which is the cellular health level. It wouldn't matter what disease you have or what is going on, whether it's thyroid, whether it's depression, whether it's a gut issue, whether it's a skin inflammation. It doesn't actually
Infertility.
matter. What was that?
Infertility.
Infertility. Oh my goodness. Okay. So
Huge.
infertility, right? So a lady that I have been introduced with by Lynsey, she actually headed up the IVF clinic in Brisbane. And because of her high profile within that clinic, she was able to get the oil in that clinic to service the women that were actually had infertility problems and improve the egg quality and the lining for the implantation so much that there were just successful outcomes within that clinic. So
Yep.
then my next question was, did they roll it out Australia wide? Of course they didn't.
No.
Of course they didn't. So,
The
but
IVF clinics were losing money.
of course, it's always about money, right?
Oh my God, it's shocking.
That's another epidemic. So
Yeah.
here's the thing, that's what made me roll up my sleeves and go, well, that's actually our job.
Yeah.
That's our job, Linz,
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think, our buckets, and I say this to my clients, your bucket is overflowing. And we need to, remove the toxins. We need to remove the things that you're eating that are not serving you and, put some better food back in, like you say, your polyphenols. And, these toxins are just everywhere. I think once you understand that, because toxins do shut down the cells. And so we need to get them out. And the only way you're going to heal is by removing that stuff first. And then putting in your omega-3s, right?
We need to permeate and just infuse that cell membrane with the omegas. So Camilla's asked a question, can we change from oil to capsule within the 6 month subscription? can you order the capsules in that first order? Because I know that you can nominate what flavor, but can you order capsules, Lynsey? Are you aware of that?
Yes, you can. So that's just a different pack.
It's a different pack.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
yeah.
it would just be the capsules plus the two. They're a little bit more expensive, the capsules, but you just order the capsules with your test kit. So yeah.
Okay. So
Same with the
I'm
vegan kits, same with the Aqua X kits, but they're all just different prices.
just looking at another question. Sorry, Linz, keep going.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go.
Question. Yeah, just coming back to Camilla's an earlier question or topic actually, comment I should say. The pH for my osteoporosis and sorry, the pH is for my osteoporosis, and she sees the systemic pH and believes this. I don't see this separate from thyroid, but ignore if it's off topic. It's not off topic at all.
No,
It's not off topic at all.
everything's connected.
Absolutely connected, right?
Mm.
So our parathyroid makes a parathyroid, which is to do with thyroid, like it's just another element of thyroid, helps with our absorption of calcium into the bone. So
Mm.
what happens is if we're inflamed or if we're acidic within our tissues, within our body, what happens is the body is it's trying to keep us safe, right? So it actually draws from bone
Mm.
to actually buffer and help stabilize the pH within the tissues within our body. So this is the problem with osteoporosis, just one of the problems. There's also a link with estrogen, and lots of other things, vitamin D as well. However, if we can actually get the different compartments of your body at the right balance of pH, and that also includes the cell membrane, well, then the body's going to be able to put the calcium or leave the calcium where it needs to be, which is in the bone.
Yeah.
It's in the bone. It won't need to draw it. So, our skeletal system, the body kind of sees that as not as important as your cardiovascular system, clearly. Okay, so
Mm.
it will draw calcium because calcium and magnesium work together for muscle contraction and relaxation.
Mm.
They have very, very integral roles within the body, within our autonomic system. So the body will just basically go, okay, I'm going to grab a little bit from here, I'm going to grab it from here, I'm going to grab it from here to keep us alive
Right.
and well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. If you're working on those base foundations, Camilla, I cannot see why then your body wouldn't be able to stabilize that skeletal system across the years moving forward with the
Yeah.
help of many other things.
Yeah.
Hope that answers your question. Um, Now, I just wanted to go back to the black seed oil. This is an Ayurvedic oil, Jennifer. I actually find that oil is really great to massage into the skin topically.
Mm.
It actually, as an Ayurvedic oil, it actually really helps to calm down the nervous system. You can bring in some essential oils as well. Yeah, I mean, of course, you could take it, but I wouldn't be relying on that as a sole form at all for
Mm.
your omega-3. So I hope that makes sense. Um,
And I'm finding when I test people who are vegetarian and vegan, they're really out of balance, like high,
yeah,
because we're
yeah.
not converting the plant-based ALA into EPA and DHA. So they're really struggling.
Yeah, look, I would have to agree. Actually, I do agree. Like, hats off to the ethics of those who
Oh,
choose to go vegan.
absolutely.
Like,
Yep.
I'm all over that. However, as a naturopath, I'm yet to see a really healthy vegan
Mm.
person who's vegan, adopts a vegan diet.
Mm.
I was vegan slash vegetarian for about 13 years of my life.
Mm.
In my 20s, going into my early 30s. Now, I remember my lips were peeling. I
Mm.
remember thinking, oh my goodness, my lips are peeling. Like I was in such a poor state of health. I believe that actually triggered my Hashimoto's as well. My iron was bottomed out. and I thought I was eating healthily.
Mm.
But yeah, I had fatigue. I felt horrible. As soon as I had a big piece of steak, oh my gosh.
You're like, yes.
My body was
Yeah.
like, thank gosh. You
Yeah,
know,
I just think, a little bit of everything. And I think with meat, we just have a little bit less as we get older, and it does become harder for us to break it down, with our,
absolutely, and
but
we've got to be mindful of the arachidonic acid
yeah,
in meat, which can be pro-inflammatory. So,
yeah,
I'm not saying go eat steak every night, like, just kind of
yeah,
bring that into the vegan equation. But yeah, like we need our protein, but we don't want to have too much of the same type of protein, and certainly without any thought around the omegas and the anti-inflammatory oils that come in naturally as well.
yeah,
This is why we need the dose. Um,
yeah.
absolutely, yeah. So
Great
anyway,
conversation.
yeah. Oh, it's a great conversation, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have future even more conversations. So
Yeah.
yeah. So if you're listening to this, or if you're coming in on the replay, do a hashtag replay. Of course, I meant to say that at the beginning. Never mind. And if you're interested in finding out a little bit more, or certainly jumping on board and getting yourself tested, getting onto the Omega program, just drop Omega. As Lynsey mentioned, there's a special at the moment. We've got a special which is $2.95 to actually get yourself all set up. Okay, so it'll get you all set up. And then of course we understand that it's not just about the cell membrane, it's about everything else that's going in. We can't just rely on one area and expect that to be the holy grail that does everything. We
Mm.
also want to look at all the other things that we're doing in our life. So I am offering a um, limited time consultation for $99, okay, which is going to focus on all the areas in your life where inflammation is coming in. All right, so I'm going to be looking at all those obvious pathways where inflammation is most likely being created in your body because of your diet, because of your lifestyle, stress, all of the things. And then with that, obviously there's the omega-3 program. So if you're wanting to set yourself up onto the omega program and get your oils delivered to you so that you can get tested and also have a consultation for $99, just type omega, and we'll have that conversation and get everything organized for you so that you can actually get yourself set up. And at the end of the day, all you need to do is commit, do the test, basically take the oil and improve your diet and lifestyle. I'll help you through that. And then after 4 months, you'll see the difference
Mm.
and you'll feel the difference. And then that will be compounded again in month 5 and in month 6. So in the scheme of things for your whole health and wellness, 6 months is nothing. And then you just continue on the oil for, what is it, $67 a month?
Yeah. Like that's just part of my grocery bill now. Like I've just because I don't buy fish anymore because it's rubbish. Um, I still have my walnuts and things because I like them. But yeah, and yeah, obviously I'd love to get myself to a 1-to-1 if I can, but I'm working on it. um, yeah, and at the moment, ladies, because not just one test on its own, if you were thinking of just getting tested, is $2.99. So to buy this pack at the moment for $2.95 with 2 tests and 2 oils to get you started, plus then your 6 monthly subscription, which I know you've got to, obviously commit to that. But yeah, it's sort of a no-brainer.
It is a no-brainer because that's the other thing, like looking at the retail cost of one bottle of 300 ml bottle of oil is $98,
$98, yeah.
right? So the test is $2.99
Yeah.
and one bottle is $98.
Yeah.
So, you're actually getting 2 bottles of the oil plus 2 tests for $2.95 to get
That's what I
yourself.
mean. It's like a no-brainer, but you do have to commit for the 6 months, on the
Yeah,
subscription. But
yeah, yeah.
like when it comes to an essential nutrient that we know works, that we know is changing lives, that we know is helping on so many levels throughout the body when it comes to, the issues that are happening right now.
Yeah.
We do have a public health crisis on our hands. Like, people are sick, and we want to be able to help you. And this is how we can help you,
This
especially
is how
started
it
for foundational health.
It's at that foundational level. It's basically, it's working at the cell. Obviously, we need to have our digestive system working order.
Yep.
There's other foundational pillars as well.
Yep.
If we drill down right down to the cell membrane, this is pretty foundational. Like, I don't know whether we can go to the subfloor, but this is pretty foundational. So it's a great place to start wherever you are, or just compound on what you're already doing, and even see whether, if you're doing all the right things, potentially all the right things will actually work once you've got healthy cells and healthy cell membranes. Camilla's said Amiga. Fantastic, Camilla. We'll get in touch with you soon. And if you're coming on this live later on, certainly drop in Amiga, or even if you just want to find out more, just write Amiga more, and we'll have a conversation. We can just have a chat to you. There might be something specific to you that you're wanting more information on. And then we can talk about how this can relate, or I can talk about how this can relate to you with your specific health condition. Very happy to do that. So just type Amiga more if you wanted to learn a little bit more information, and we can go from there. But essentially, the decision is yours. Like, we all have the freedom to make our choices. And, knowledge is power when it's applied. And that's when you're potentially going to feel the difference in your body. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I want to jump out of a plane when I'm 90. So let's go.
When you're 90?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a really good goal. Well, you know what my goal is?
What?
Okay, so I want to live to 100.
Yeah.
But I want to live close enough to the water so that I can toddle out and jump in the ocean every day.
I love it. Love it.
And
yeah,
I actually did imagine being in one of those floaty things, just so that I can.
Oh yeah, like a rubber ringy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the ring. The ring. Yeah. Just so that but I that's what I want to do. I want to be near the ocean and swim every day. Yeah, even though
we're going to keep our joints looped up, right, with our omegas, because once you lose your mobility, that's it.
I know. Yeah.
Crazy. Anyway, that was a great combo.
Maybe
Thanks,
I won't
Megan.
need to hobble out. Maybe I can just
maybe
I'll be skipping out to the ocean. Yeah. See, that's the thing, right? Like, I go like, at the moment the oceans are horrible. Just touching on this right now, they're disgusting. We've got floods here, and all the rubbish that's going down through the stormwater drains. Like, rivers are overflowing. We've had deluges of rain in this area. Like, it's terrible at the moment. So all that's going into the ocean. But then there's microplastics in the ocean. So right now, like, I have a 1 week rule. So I love swimming, but I will not go in the ocean for at least 7 days after there's been any type of rainfall, because of all the rubbish and horrible stuff. But I have noticed, like, I live in a very pristine area of the world, and I have noticed, like, I haven't been in the ocean all that much this year because they're just not looking clean.
No.
Like, it's
same
really
here. After, like, we're right on the water in Redcliffe here, and it's it's just muddy and murky all the time. It was really clear, but we've had all that rain as well.
I think it's the rain, but but that's a problem too. Hopefully that won't continue, because I do love the ocean and the fish and the sea life and all the things. Anyway, I digress. So I'm gonna close this. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, Lynsey. I'm sure we could talk about this and go down many rabbit holes, but thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me.
It's been great to get some insight with what work you've been doing with your clients over the last 6+ months. And I'm really looking forward to, I'm bringing this, all of my clients know, I've brought it into my practice. This is going to be one of the foundational pillars within my practice from
Yep.
now on. And yeah, I'm really excited to see. I'm excited to get my results back, and then again for month 4, and then see the noticeable changes of my thyroid
Yeah.
and all other elements. Yeah, so
It's
really
exciting. And
exciting
it's a
time.
great report as well. Have you seen a report yet?
I haven't.
Oh, I have
No.
to show you one. We have to jump on Zoom and show you one. They're really thorough, like 21 pages. Really,
Oh,
really good.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Very
exciting.
detailed.
Okay. Well,
Mm.
that's good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love detail. All right.
So I'll show you one.
Fantastic. All
All right.
right. Well, thanks everyone for coming on this evening. Any questions, pop it in the comments. If you'd like to get your test and your kit, type Omega. If you'd like to get more information, Omega More. And we'll look forward to chatting with you. And we'll see you next time.